This is Mike Taigman with Taking Control of Your Health. In this episode, we're going to talk about falls. And while falls can happen to anyone, it's more common and there are more serious health consequences when falls happen in the elderly population, or as some people like to say, the chronologically endowed population. Folks in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even over 100 that still lead active lifestyles have the potential to fall, and the consequences from those falls can be fairly serious. Head injuries and hip fractures are very common, with hip fractures probably be one of the more common reasons that 911 gets called for folks who have taken a fall. Now, there are three primary contributors to why people fall. The three issues are: first, has to do with strength, balance, and mobility. The second one has to do with medications, and the third has to do with environment. And the first one, on strength, balance, and mobility, what tends to happen is as people get a little older, start to get a little bit uncomfortable moving around, start to feel their balance being off a little bit, they tend to move around less. And what happens when you move around less and you end up being sedentary is your muscles atrophy and your ability to balance yourself gets further and further from what's normal. Those consequences are that people who are afraid of falling and moving less end up causing changes in their body that increase the chance that they're going to fall. So one of the most important things in order to protect yourself from this kind of situation is to stay active. Walking is very powerful. Water sports are great. There are a number of water aerobics classes. Tai Chi as a martial art that you may have seen people do in parks in your community is something that's very powerful for developing the core strength and balance to be able to keep yourself from falling. There's actually some classes I've seen done called Trip But Don't Fall, done by Tai Chi instructors for folks who are senior citizens. The second issue that contributes to people falling has to do with medications. In our day and age, people can have several different physicians. I know I've got friends who've got doctors for their heart, doctors for their diabetes, doctors for their other endocrinological problems, doctors for their female issues, whatever it happens to be. And these physicians may end up prescribing and treating certain things related to specific parts of the body without necessarily understanding that other medications are being prescribed by other physicians. And sometimes if you've got a number of medications, it's common as paramedics, we go into people's homes and there's a shoebox full of medicine. And sometimes those doctors haven't cross-communicated. So some medications may work to cancel each other out. Others may work together to make somebody dizzy when they might not be otherwise. So one of the things that's really important to do is to have somebody who really understands, and usually your pharmacist can do this for you, is to review all the medicines you take, including any of the over-the-counter things, any of the herbs, the traditional medicines, teas, any of those kinds of things that can work together or work against each other with your other medications to make you a little bit dizzy and set you up for a fall. The third area that's important is the environment. There are a number of things in the environment that can cause somebody to trip and fall. Now, I know I've got friends who've got throw rugs that they collected in India or trips to Kabul or whatnot, laid out in their home, that those throw rugs are a recipe for tripping, particularly if you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and don't notice, you can trip and fall on those. Another issue is extension cords or telephone cords laid across through walkways catch people, cause them to trip and fall. It's very common for people to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, and if there's no lights, particularly low in the area, and trying to feel their way to the bathroom, very common for falls in that circumstance. As we get older, I know I need glasses where I didn't need to a few years ago. As your vision changes, it's harder and harder to see things. So stairs, people will fall when they're walking up the stairs and think there's more stairs but haven't recognized they've made it to the top of the stair. A brightly colored strip on the top stair and on the bottom stair to give you a visual clue that you've made it to the end of the staircase can really help prevent falls. And research shows that the falls that tend to cause people some of the more serious injuries often occur in the bathroom, and they're associated frequently with bathing activities, particularly getting in and out of the bathtub. So one of the things that's a great idea is to equip bathrooms around the toilet and in the bathing area with grab rails. You can go to the store, it's not too expensive, get the hardware and have somebody who's qualified do grab rails mounted in such a way that they'll be able to hold the body weight. One of the things that we've found through research is that people who use the grab rails on a regular basis dramatically decrease the risk of falls in the bathroom. There was one interesting study, I think it was done in Seattle, where they asked a group of men who were in their 90s if they would use grab rails if they were put in the bathrooms. And 90% of them said, no, I don't need that kind of thing. But when they moved into an apartment complex where the grab rails were already installed, 95% of them use the grab rails on a regular basis. It's one of those kinds of things that if it's there, people will use it. A third thing that kind of fits with that is if your doctor has told you that you should use a cane or a walker, one of the assistive devices. Commonly, people feel embarrassed about using those, so they'll try not to. And research also shows that people who use their assistive devices dramatically decrease their chance of a fall. So our objective in this conversation is to do some things that if you've got somebody in your life who you love and care about, who has got some advanced years with them, a little bit of coaching and a few things that can be done to be able to decrease their chance of falls, encouraging them to exercise, working with them to get their medications reviewed, and doing an environmental check on their home to decrease the chances that there's something that would cause them to trip, can help prevent them from ending up in the back of an ambulance and taking a ride to the emergency room in pain from a broken hip. This is Mike Taigman, hoping to improve health for you and your family.